Well, joining us now is Tim Larkin, a security consultant and former Special Warfare Intelligence Officer. Tim, good to have you. Thanks for joining us. The shooter in El Paso posted a 230-word screed to a website called 8chan. Other gunmen have also posted documents here before carrying through their own mass murders. Law enforcement now investigating the El Paso attack as a domestic terror incident. Tim, is this something we're seeing more of?
The real issue is the isolation. What you're finding is mentally disturbed people for the most part. They're isolated from society. They find a calling. They get radicalized.
Explain the difference between domestic terrorism and homegrown violent extremism, Tim.
What kind of recruiting works, or how does somebody get radicalized? And we call it radicalized. We use a lot of the current terminology. But basically, anybody who isolates themselves and then focuses and goes down rabbit holes of racism. It can be racism, it can be religious, it can be political. They'll go down these rabbit holes and they'll just go to the far extreme, and they get to the point to where they think by actually going out there and viewing themselves as leading the charge, basically, for the big change, whatever it is. It could be, religious fervor. It could be, there's too much. There's too many immigrants coming in, and you're going to lead the charge. You've had enough, and this is how you're going to do it. They literally can work themselves into this frenzy where it seems logical.
Are there similarities between domestic terrorism and the classic terrorism we know from groups like Al Qaeda?
Sometimes it can be white nationalism. Sometimes it can be a patriot approach. It's this idea of protecting the country, cleansing the country of unwanted individuals who are ruining our country. I mean, the doctrine is all over when you read some of the manifestos that are put out. One is the idea of protecting the homeland is probably the reason for most domestic terrorism that you'll see, racism, cleansing the population of unwanted. Whereas overseas recruitment terrorism, domestic terrorism usually has some sort of a political or religious start to it.
And Tim, is there a centralized figure within these groups who perpetuates this kind of propaganda?
This thing is just the Medusa. It has tons of different heads. It's very decentralized. These cells pop up. So the internet basically provides an opportunity to put out jihadist material, recruitment material, ad nauseum. Every time you try to shut one down, another one will show up, and they all use it. So there are groups like that will help out produce a lot of propaganda, but it's not as easy as just shutting them down. We always look for the one source that if we just do this, it'll all go away, and it's not. It's a many-headed monster. It's not people that we're fighting. We're fighting an idea, an ideology.